The throw misses a cutoff man. Shoved into the plate. Out of the plate. Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
Starks. Yes. What a move by Starks, who was able to sky to the basket.
Perez deals. Fastball hit in the air to left field. That's deep. Back goes Chavez back near the wall. Leaping, and he made the catch. He took a home run away from Roland. Trying to get back to first Edmonds. He's doubled off, and the inning is over. Andy Chavez saved the day.
Eli throwing into traffic on the sideline. They're going to rule it a catch by Manningham.
Sanchez, corner of the end zone. For the second time today, Santonio Holmes on the receiving end of a touchdown. This one with 10 seconds to play.
This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Oh, man. Welcome to the Monday edition of WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Joshua Umahi, your host for today, joined by Eric Williams, Ross Levine, France Compare. How we doing, fellas?
Doing great. When Kenny Galladay scores, feeling great.
So we talked about it pre-show. Took this man 26 games, 104 quarters. The 104th quarter, he scores a touchdown. His first touchdown as a Giant. How you feeling, Ross?
Good. That's like a win. If you really think about it, Galladay getting a touchdown, that's a win. I mean, who cares about the game? That's the touchdown. That's the game right there.
Yeah.
The victory Monday for you two, and Eric, a little different feeling on this Monday. How we doing?
I'm feeling indifferent.
You're indifferent?
Yeah.
I don't blame you as the Cowboys fan in the room. I don't know what the hell that performance was.
You know, you have a performance like that going into the playoffs. And you're going against arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, arguably the greatest NFL player of all time. It's like, how do you feel now? And you're going to Tampa. And this is stat on the Cowboys, like they don't play well on grass. Like not like turf. They don't play well on grass.
1-4 this season on grass. So they're gonna have to go to Tampa. And again, I know the Bucs are ass, right? There's no denying that this year, but listen. We know how them refs get with the slurpage and Tom Brady and all that. We know how it gets around playoff time. It's not the position the Cowboys want to find themselves in. They were alive for the 1 seed going into yesterday, but who they needed to lose was the Eagles, and that wasn't going to happen once the Giants rested their prominent starters. So you had, obviously, the big ones, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, joining Julian Love, Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams on the bench for this game. Eagles were leading 19-0 over the Giants, but even then, it didn't really feel like it's 19-0. Yeah, it's a 3-possession game, but it really didn't feel like the Giants put up a bad fight.
It didn't, not at all. And I was telling you earlier before the show, like, this is a loss. Like, I'm happy after. That's weird to say, but I'm happy after this loss because, yeah, defense bend, but they didn't break. A lot of times they got in that red zone. They should have ran that score up way more on our second defense. And then on top of that, like, it was just vibes on offense. Yeah, it was rough to start that game, but Davis Webb out here trucking DBs. Kenny Galladay is over here head tapping Darius in the back of the end zone. And I'm like, okay.
See, that's the type of confidence you want to go into the playoffs with.
Yeah.
Especially going against a team like Minnesota, who's like, you don't know what they are, and you know you can beat them. That's the type of confidence you want to have. Kenny Galladay scoring touchdowns, and your second string is playing very well. So.
Yeah, so I was feeling good, bro. It was great vibes all around. So I was happy with what I seen from the Giants team yesterday.
Davis Webb, you brought him up. Didn't play bad. 23 of 40, 168 yards. That touchdown to Galladay. I mean, I do think the consensus for the Giants fans out there, and Giants fans, if you got any thoughts, 516-572-7440, call us up. But I agree with you guys. It was a very encouraging loss. You don't get many of those in the NFL, but if there's a more encouraging loss from an NFL team this year, help me find it, because this Giants team, like we know about the Vikings, we don't know what they are. This Giants team, like, yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. They're 9-7-1, but for a lot of the year, we were questioning whether they were for real, whether they were just overachieving. We didn't think they could win a playoff game, but I feel like after yesterday, you can be encouraged about that.
Listen, I mean, when they play this Sunday, I'm going to go into this game. Not everybody's going to go into it. That's fine. I get it. I'm going to go into this like this is gravy. Like, this is like house money, regardless of what happens. This was a very good season for the Giants. Regardless of what happens. Win, lose, draw, great season. Because here's what I'll say. Remember what it was in August. We were like, this is year one of a rebuild. Yeah. This is the start of the teardown. And we're even in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs with a first-year head coach, a first-year general manager. And remember what it was about. They declined Jones' option. And now we're talking about extending Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Like, that's a
crazy turnaround.
It's crazy. So, like, yeah, it'd be nice for them to win a playoff game, but I'm not going to kill them if they didn't. Like, I'm not going to kill them if they lost to the Vikings, because I understand playoffs are different. It's a different atmosphere. They haven't had the experience. This is a lot of these guys' first playoff game.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be mad if they lost it. Would I be surprised they won? No, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not going to. These teams play very close, and I want to see the Giants at least put up a fight. Even if they lose, just put up a fight, and I'll be fine with that.
Well, look, Ross is a better man than me, because if they lose, oh boy.
It depends how they lose.
Nah, bro.
It's a winnable game.
You're right. It depends how they lose. But if they go out on some sucker timing, I might just put my fist through the TV, respectfully.
Well, like if they lose by 20, then
that's sucker timing.
Okay,
fist going through the TV.
All right,
it's a very winnable game, Ross. You got to.
It is, especially last time. What we've seen.
Yeah, it's a winnable game, but I'm just saying, like, let's say they lost by a touchdown. I'm not gonna kill them over that.
Nah, yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna cry though.
All right.
Yo, I almost cried watching the hype video. I say, yo, I really was struggling.
Yeah.
Ever since 2016, I was struggling.
All right. The fact that we're talking crying after losing a playoff game, isn't that a good sign for the Giants going forward, though?
Yeah, it means you're back engaged as a fan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like think about what the last 5 years has been. It's been like, whatever. We're used to losses. Now it's like, all right, we lose. It's like, yeah, we're a little disappointed, but we know we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. I'm not mad they lose.
You know, I tweeted it yesterday. Like, I'm just so happy the Giants, and we'll get to the Jets in a little bit. Even though the Jets missed the playoffs, I'm just happy that both teams were relevant.
Yeah.
Because, last year during the show, like, we were there was nothing to talk about. We were going through it. We were talking about Joe Judge QB sneaks. Like, that's not what I wanted to do.
We were rooting for losses. That's what we were doing.
Look, one thing about the Giants, though, that I'm in question of for next season, though, is, like, contracts between Sterling Shepard and Kenny Golladay. I wonder what's going to happen there, because we know Kenny wants money. Kenny signed with the terrible New York Giants for 72 M's. Nobody was looking to sign with the Giants, but Kenny did, because that 72 M's, that's a big number, 40 of them guaranteed. And Sterling Shepard, he took a pay cut coming into the season, and I wouldn't want to give him up, because he's just been with us for a super long 7 years, and he's productive when he's healthy, but at the same time, is he willing to take another pay cut, being that he does like have a problem with injuries? I don't know. So I want to see what Joe and that front office is going to do with their contracts, because I would like to keep both of them if Kenny could keep up. You know, like,
damn, that one touchdown.
It got me hyped, bro. It got me hyped. Everybody was backing Kenny, and I think that's what he needed. Like, his teammates were showing him mad love. Dable was even embracing him after that touchdown, and Dable like was hard on him this whole time. So I don't know. I want to see what that contract is going to look like for them too heading into next season.
The Golladay thing is interesting because, like, all year we've been talking about, well, he was dropping passes and he only caught 4 passes on the year before yesterday's game. But, I mean, everyone was talking about he's going to get cut at the end of the season. They're going to save money on the cap and they're going to spend it elsewhere. But I don't know. Like, I feel like Kenny Golladay, he should want to be a Giant just because we know what a player's coach Brian Dable is. And, like, if he's productive, and we know it's in him because we watched him his entire year in Detroit, entire career in Detroit. Like, we know it's in him. So I don't know what happened this year, or last year, but if he can find that, it's kind of similar to where my Saints are at with Michael Thomas. Because it's kind of like he's in limbo because he just reworked his contract. They might trade him, they might cut him, but you're still holding on to that little sliver of hope. Like, yo, like we know who this guy is when he's right.
Yeah.
So if we can get that production out, who knows? It's a tough decision for the Giants, but him catching that touchdown is definitely a great sign in terms of if he can be a contributor at all in the playoff game. And before yesterday, we didn't see that coming. So it's a good sign on that front for the Giants. And my question is, we kind of talked about it to start the show, but after this performance, after what you've watched all season from not just the Giants, but from the Vikings, how confident should the typical Giants fan be? I mean, the Vikings, they're 12 and...
They're 13 and
13 and 4, sorry, but they finally had their first win by more than one possession, so...
You like that? You like that?
Nah, I don't really like that. I don't really like that. It took you until week 18 to do it?
I know. Listen, I'm not saying that we're going to lose. I think this is winnable. But what I do worry about is the Vikings being able to come back in games, and that scares me because I don't know if we're able to stop them. I think we can contain them. I don't know if we can stop them because they have a lot of talent on that team.
I don't know. It's Brian Dable and not Jeff Saturday. So if you're up 33-0, you might feel a little better.
I know, but
like,
okay. So let me picture this. So Monday, after a loss, we're going to be like, this season's now a failure if they lose to Minnesota. I'm preparing for it because I know that everybody's saying that the Giants going to win, which means that's scary.
I mean, Vegas thinks they're going to win too. They
even
have
more scary.
Giants as 3-point underdogs. Usually, Vegas we know gives 3 points to the home team, so they see it as an even matchup. And we saw it play out the first game these teams played.
Yeah. No, it is. I want to see if the Giants. I want to see Jones play well. That's what I want to see. I want to see Jones play well. I want to see this game be... I want the Giants to not get blown out. I want them to be in it. I want them to be even. And you know what? If they lose because of a bad call, they lose because of a field goal of 55 yards, not 61 yards, I'm not going to be pissed this time. Like I shouldn't say I was pissed, but I was disappointed the first time they lost to them. If we lose to them again, it's like, okay, maybe we just can't beat them. Like, it comes down to that. You lose to a team twice in the season. It's like, yeah, maybe you can't beat them. So, again, year one of a rebuild. That's what I'm going to say if they lose. I'm always going to remember that. Every bad play the Giants make, year one of a rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have said the phrase, and I know Corey said it on Friday last week, too. It's house money.
It is.
If you look at it, and I know Giants fans, you want to see your team go into Minnesota and get a big win. You're not really, I hope you're not expecting more after that because you might have to go to San Francisco.
But see, that's exactly why I'm not going to be pissed off because I know what's going to come out after that.
Yeah, you know you're not going to win the championship this year.
No, of course. We're going to have to play the Niners. We're going to have to play the Eagles. We may have to play Dallas. All those teams are a lot better than what we are. So if we win, fantastic. If we don't win, we weren't supposed to be there anyway this year. And what's scary about it is we're getting experience when we weren't supposed to get experience this year. Yeah. So that's why I'm not as pissed off. Like if they lost to the Colts, I would have been pissed off. If they lost to like teams that they should have beaten and they lost, that would have ticked me off a little bit. Vikings, listen, I think they're fraudulent, but Eric said it, I'm sure, when he called last week. They're still a 13-win team. They still won 13 games. They've somehow done it. So you don't win 13 games by accident. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. You know what's messed up about the NFC? That the Eagles don't move me. I think they peaked too early.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah, and they're banged up. The Niners, yeah, they have the defense and yeah, they have the weapons, but I mean, it's still Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy. And I know he's played well, but I'm not putting all my eggs in the...
This is playoff football.
Exactly.
You got to think about it. Like I still don't believe in the hype behind him because he was a 7th round pick. You got the team behind you. You have this very well defense, and you got a coach that can coach you up and win games on offense, just like by that much because now you got a supporting cast around you. You got Christian McCaffrey and you got Deebo Samuel. Obviously, that's going to help you in the long run because I put it like this. If the 49ers never traded for Christian McCaffrey, I don't think they would be in this position right now because Deebo Samuel was out for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely agreeable because of the caliber CMC is. But at the same time, I'm putting all my eggs in the basket with Dirty Purdy. I'm doing it. I'm doing it, bro.
Front row at the Brock party.
That's front row, bro. Listen, if I was at that game, you seen the fan that fell trying to catch the whatever he threw up there, that would have been me. That would have been me because I'm all in on Purdy, dog. I'm all in. He hasn't showed me that anything that I should be worried about, bro. He's been doing a great job, and we can't fault him for being on a team with the weapons.
No.
This is what he was given, and now he's showing out with it. So I think he could do it. And he was an Iowa State legend. Like, people are forgetting this. I was following Brock Purdy throughout his whole Iowa State career. He was a dog. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out to be that way his last season there, but that's because they sucked as a team. But as a player, great player throughout college, and it's transferring over. And hopefully he can maintain it. He can maintain it throughout his career. But this season, with all this momentum they have and the weapons he has, I'm putting all my eggs in.
You know what's in the Niners? I'll read the stat off. So they end the season on a 10-game winning streak. They won the last 6 with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy had 67% completion percentage, 1,300 passing yards, 13 tuds, 1 rushing touchdown, 4 picks. San Francisco scored 33 points in 5 of those 6 games. Purdy threw 2 touchdowns in each game. That's impressive no matter how you want to put it. And like Eric said, though, he has help. Christian McCaffrey scored a touchdown in 6 straight games to close the year. So the Niners are tough, but it's still... Eric's right in the sense that when it's playoff football, you get game plan differently. Yeah. Teams have tape on Brock Purdy now. They didn't have that before. So
listen, you could say that about any team in the NFL. That when you make the playoffs, there's already tape on you. That's for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So listen, there's gonna be a tape on the Giants too. We don't have a lot of talent. That's why I'm not pissed off if we lose. But the point I'm trying to make is that every team is talented. Every team's here for a reason. And you know what? There's going to be a film probably on Purdy. But again, the Niners have such a great system, they're probably going to run the ball a lot with Christian McCaffrey because he's their best player. If not, throw the ball to him. So, and guess what? If they double team him, somebody else will be open. So they have a very good system. If that team loses prior to the NFC Championship game, that's a disappointment. That's a failure on the Niners because that's different. They have a Super Bowl contending roster. They really do. The quarterback, you don't know, but their roster is great, and they were just in a Super Bowl not too long ago. So for teams like the Eagles, for the Niners, for the Cowboys, that's a disappointment if they don't get to at least the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. So. Well, the Niners should be the favorite. I'm just saying, I think I look at the NFC as a whole, right? I've never seen it this week before. Aaron Rodgers, who we're going to get to, is not even the playoffs. Tom Brady's on a diminished team. I'm looking around I feel as if, and I know the Vikings are fraudulent, but even the Vikings, if they catch some luck and keep winning 1-score games, why couldn't they make it out the NFC? That's how I feel, because none of these teams really impress me like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Buccaneers also played in one of the worst divisions in the NFL, so that does help.
That's the thing, too. That you play in a bad division like that. And this is the thing that makes me feel better going against the Bucs, because you play teams like the Saints twice. You play teams like the Panthers twice. Teams like the Falcons. You played all those teams twice. So you're going to rack up wins off of that, obviously. And then, the NFC was weak as a whole, so whatever division you're going against, you're going to catch about 2 wins out of that. So it's just it's making me feel a little more better, but still, you just never know, because all it takes is that one lucky play or that one lucky call or something like that. That's all it takes.
Eric, what's funny? Before yesterday, I honestly would have said it's the 49ers and Cowboys conference to lose. But I don't know about Dak and company now. He started the game 10 for 30. It's not even a meaningful game. That's a game you're supposed to tune up and get yourself ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you can come out against the the Commanders, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them. But how do you come out like that against that team?
It's almost like they knew the Giants were going to lose, so they weren't going to play their hardest.
I'm not even.
It's unacceptable for them. I'm just Dak throwing a lot of interceptions this year, so I don't know what that's about. I mean, I guess stop the run on Dallas and make Dak beat you. I don't know.
That's the entire game plan. That's definitely what the Bucs are going to do.
That game yesterday definitely like mirrored the first game of the season, where I came in after that game and I was just
against
like,
the Bucs.
I was just like, you know what? He's not capable to do anything for this team, and he definitely showed it yesterday because. If you don't have a run game behind you, and if he doesn't have a clean pocket, he's not going to improvise his way out the pocket. He has, like, his pocket presence is weird because he'll start getting pressure on him, and then he, like, lose his feet. I'm just, like, you just watch a play. Just watch a play where he gets pressure on the outside. He'll start losing his feet, and he won't know where he's at in the pocket.
Hot water in his veins.
He got happy feet.
That's crazy. I mean, we've seen it. It's on tape. And once that's on tape, something like that, teams are going to definitely turn up the heat on Dak Prescott. So that's the story in the NFC. The Giants are obviously the 6th seed. They'll play the Vikings on play them on Sunday at 4:30. So that's going to be interesting to see. Before we move on to the Jets and their I don't even know what to call them no more. We'll remind everybody that you are listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College. 90.3 WHPC. Once again, Joshua Umahi joined by Eric Williams, Ross Levine, and Franz Compare. So the Jets. So they played a meaningless game, at least for them. The Dolphins were playing for a lot, obviously, but 11-6. That's exactly the score I expected out of a Joe Flacco and Skylar Thompson quarterback duel. That's exactly the score I would have figured.
Tanking, baby, tanking.
I don't even want to pull up the stats for this game. I mean, we knew what it was. Joe Flacco is
he's a statue.
Like he's a statue. Like Eric says, he needs to be in a retirement home. Just he doesn't need to be playing NFL quarterback anymore.
He doesn't even want to play. I don't even think he wants to play.
Did you remember that picture of, I forget what game it was, but it was cold outside. Joe Flacco's just out there with like 4 layers. He's like, I don't want to go in this game. Zach got it. Mike White got it. I don't got it.
There's certain guys in the NFL you look at like that play quarterback. Guys like Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, and a little bit of Nick Foles too. Like you just see it like they don't want to play football.
They're just picking up a check. That's all they're doing right now. And we saw it yesterday, and Skylar Thompson outdueled Joe Flacco. That's the perfect note for him to go out on. I can't even say on a good note. On the note he deserves, I'll say that. But the Jets. So Robert Saleh was asked in the media, are you going to get the quarterback position right? What are you going to do there? What changes are you going to make to the coaching staff? Mike LaFleur. Saleh says his status is up in the air, but like this team, we know what it is. They have a great defense, but they were on the field way too much. They couldn't stop the run towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And just not having a quarterback killed them in so many ways that people don't see, including, the run defense that wore down over the last half of the season. So we know what the story is. They need to get the quarterback position right.
Yeah, they're off. I can't get mad at the defense when your offense can't score a touchdown for 3 weeks. I just can't do it. So I mean the defense is always out.
3 weeks.
That's 3 weeks. Only the Jets could come up with that. And by the way, they had 3 quarterbacks. 3 quarterbacks, actually kind of 4 if you include Strebler. 4 quarterbacks who couldn't score a touchdown in 3 weeks. Only the New York Jets had 4 could ever do that, could ever accomplish that. So congratulations, Jets. You decided to go with old man Joe Flacco in a meaningless game that nobody wants to see. The only people that want to see is just to lose. I mean, honestly, if you're rooting for them to win, you're crazy. Even if they won yesterday, who cares? Who cares? It was a meaningless game. So, and to factor that in, their defense actually played fairly well, and they still couldn't win. I mean, it was 11-6 because of the safety at the end, but it was just like LaFleur's gone. That's all I'm going to say. He's definitely gone.
So?
Oh, he's gone. If you heard Saleh, he's not even committing to him. He's gone.
He should be.
He should have been gone after yesterday.
Honestly, it's beyond the quarterback concerns because this Jets offense had talent. I mean, you look at Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall before he got hurt, Elijah Moore when he's actually getting targeted. The tight ends are good. I like them, Conklin and Uzama. They had talent on offense, so I'm not understanding. Well, I am understanding. It's the quarterback, and it's also the play caller.
Yeah.
And their O-line is just not good.
Yeah, they need
AVT back.
They need him back. They're going to need Mekhi Becton back. Laken Tomlinson, I don't know what the hell he was on this year.
That's why, I think the Jets are going to be better next season, way better, because they're getting those young guys on the offensive line back. And then you don't know what you're going to do at quarterback, but anything would be better than Zach Wilson.
You say that, and well, yeah, that's true. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I mean, here's what I see the Jets doing. They'll definitely get a new offensive coordinator. I agree with what Ross has said. They'll definitely look to get a Jimmy G or a Derek Carr in there. I think Zach Wilson stays on the roster.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean towards that now.
So I think they just ride out the veteran, and then you continue to keep trying to bring Zach Wilson along and develop him as a backup.
I just think it's too late for Zach.
I agree.
I think it's too late in the sense that people are blaming the Jets because Zach isn't good and they have failed to develop courts in the past. Isn't some of that on Zach too? I mean, when you're factoring in this whole thing with he was a second overall pick, and then you hear about what Saleh says about read a book and those things like I mean, isn't some of this on Zach as well? I mean, he's misses 5-yard passes. Like, I think anybody can do that. I mean, do you have to be that developed to throw a 5-yard check down? Like, some of it's on Zach too. I mean, his press conferences are not good. It's on him too. It's on the coaching as well, but it's on Zach as well. I mean, everybody gets blame. Everybody gets some piece of the blame here. And Douglas is going to get blamed too because he drafted him. So everybody gets a blame. And Douglas has done a good job getting a lot of talent here. But the one thing he failed at was getting the quarterback. And Becton, that's a failed pick. Whether it's fair or not, he was on the field. So that's on him too.
Yeah, it's go read a book, go do something.
Go read a book. And then you had this from Zach Wilson earlier in the year.
I think you got to put into account it's windy as hell out there too, guys.
I think the entire. You know what would fix the Jets? The entire roster got to go to media training.
Yeah,
because the amount of time they got up in front of the podium and said some stupid, just nonsense. I don't understand. Like, every single week it was something. And I know that New York media tries to trap people, but I didn't see any controversy coming out from the Giants.
No, that's surprising. Over the last 5 years, you've heard a lot of excuses. Yeah.
And they got their house stable, and that's good. But the Jets, every single time, whether it was Wilson, whether it was LaFleur, whether it was Saleh, whether it was anybody, it was just, how do you say something dumb every week? Post-game, throughout the week, it was crazy. I think the Jets just need... They're not going to have a complete reset because Joe Douglas isn't going anywhere and Robert Saleh isn't going anywhere. And I like Saleh. I like Douglas, but... the one blip on his mark, and he's a good drafter, which is crazy if you look at it as a whole, but he picked Zach Wilson over Justin Fields. That's the one black mark on his record, and that's not a good one.
No, when you miss on the court, you set your team back. That's I mean, for the Jets, they might be decent because they have a lot of talent, but they're not. You're never gonna be a Super Bowl contender until you get the quarterback. You can't hide your quarterback. I mean, that's like a closer in baseball. You can't hide your closer. You have to. You got to have your quarterback. So that's. I like Douglas, and he can't. We got to remember the Jets were a horrible, awful, worse than this before Douglas got there. So you got to give Douglas credit in the sense that he drafted these guys that made them a better team, and he's putting them in the right direction. But you miss on the quarterback, it's not good. This year was the New York excuses Jets. That's what this season was, excuses Jets, because they made a ton of excuses in the media.
And obviously it's a failed season, and you're going to look at the quarterback position. And I was listening to ESPN radio on the way here, and Bart Scott said something interesting in terms of. We'll get to it more in a little bit, but we know the Bears got the first overall pick, right? Mm-hmm. So I think Nico brought this up the other day too, where it was maybe they're in love with Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, and they look at Justin Fields, who's a generational runner of the football, but passing, maybe it's not everything they want. If you're the Jets, stick with me. Because if you're the Jets, Justin Fields, he played with Garrett Wilson in college. So there's that connection. We saw what getting a young wide receiver that a quarterback played with in college work out for the Bengals, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Look, we've seen that work out. If you're the Jets, at least you got to make a call to the Bears. Like, yo, like, what would it take to get this guy? What would it take to get Justin Fields and kind of make up for our mistake in 2020?
They might go after Lamar.
Lamar too.
I'd rather have Lamar.
I give up the house for Lamar too.
Yeah, but here's the thing: isn't Lamar a free agent?
No, so the Ravens are definitely going to franchise tag him because he is a free agent. Yeah, but they're going to franchise tag him, and then how I see it playing out, Lamar's going to demand a trade because I think him in Baltimore is just. I think it just needs to be done. Mm-hmm. That's just how I feel. I don't know if most people agree, but like they don't get him weapons. They're not interested in changing the offense. So if you're Lamar Jackson, why would you want to stay there? You want to get paid and you want to win. It's not going to happen in Baltimore either way, I feel like. Because it's the Bengals division, and they don't want to give you your money. They don't want to give you what Deshaun Watson got in free agency last year. So if you're the Jets, I'm all over that.
Oh, no, of course. Listen, Lamar or Fields, you make a call. I knew there was something fishy with the Bears, like with Fields. Like, they have a new GM, they have a new coach.
That's a good point.
Like, they're not going to keep Justin Fields. It's not their guy.
That's a good point.
I knew there was like whenever they were saying this on like the Bears have like their post game after every game. It's like, well, they have their quarterback. Like, no, they don't. Like they don't. It's not their guy. Usually you want your own guy, so they don't want to have their quarterback right now. Now maybe they roll with him another year, but I doubt that too.
Let me be clear. I think Justin Fields personally is the goods. Like, I think he's a franchise quarterback. Yeah. But you're right in the fact that the Bears hired a new GM last offseason. Justin Fields wasn't his draft pick. It was Ryan Pace.
Yeah.
So if you look at that and you look at a team that's going to have the most cap space in the NFL, like, they might just want to... Justin Fields is going to be due to get paid this offseason, next offseason?
Next offseason.
Maybe they don't want to do that in 2 years. Maybe they, like Bart said on the radio, reset the clock.
I think maybe the coach likes him, the GM doesn't. I'm not sure, but what I'll say is Fields would be interesting, being that I think he may fit the system a little bit better with the Jets. If they have a new coordinator, I think he'd be a little bit better, being in that Shanahan type of offense, and he would have a lot more talent around him. Now, that's also, if they decide, I hope they don't do this, but if they keep LaFleur, they might get Garoppolo because Garoppolo fits the system and he knows the system. I hope they would move on from the coordinator and keep solid and see what happens. The problem with the Jets is, like, you have an owner that likes Zach and you have the coach that doesn't. So, like, you have dysfunction there. You have two people not on the same page, and even it's somebody's going to get fired. It's going to happen. I mean, if not this year, definitely next year if it doesn't work out. So usually when there's whether there's an argument with an owner and a coach, the owner wins. So usually I think there's going to be a playoff mandate for the Jets next year to make the playoffs. If they don't make it, you're going to see a lot of people's heads roll.
I'm looking at, because you brought up Kyle Shanahan, and I think the Jets are going to find somebody from that coaching tree to be their offensive coordinator.
That's a bad idea.
I mean,
Mike LaFleur.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett, I'm looking at here. Mike McDaniel.
Oh, boy.
We'll see what the Jets do, but they definitely got to get those two positions right. Offensive coordinator and quarterback, we'll see how the offseason plays out for them. But let's move on to some winning football. So, go around the NFL with the playoff picture being set as the regular season is now over. The 7th seed in the AFC. So the Patriots lost to the Bills. That's a big win for the Bills in terms of seeding, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The Dolphins, like we said, beat the Jets to clinch the 7th seed. But my Steelers, Mike Tomlin, another winning season.
Yeah, another winning season. But, Kenny Pickett, he's starting to, like, really fit into that role with them. And, I feel like the two teams you should watch next year is definitely Detroit and Pittsburgh. Those are two, like, underrated teams you should definitely watch, because nobody's going to really be looking, like, beating down the door about Kenny Pickett, or, like, the Lions are not going to be like, oh, Jared Goff. But they have the team. They have the, like, that coaching staff. So it's just like, all right, look at Pittsburgh. All they need is like that one more piece. I just feel like maybe on defense.
I would like to see another piece on both sides of the ball for them.
Yeah.
Because I know they have George Pickens. He made another crazy catch yesterday for a touchdown.
And he's good.
Yeah, he's going to be a problem next year.
And you got Deontay Johnson, you got Najee Harris. Hopefully he can improve. But they're definitely a sleeper next year.
Yeah. It's funny, until you brought that up, I didn't realize how similar the Steelers and Lions were. The young kind of like, maybe you thought of them as bridge quarterbacks or not the franchise guy, but both. Especially Kenny Pickett. I mean, the stats don't fly off the page from yesterday, but he was efficient. He can run the ball a little bit. All he really needs to do is stay healthy. Yeah, the Steelers, I feel like, are one draft away from being...
They should have made the playoffs this year, honestly. They were close, but the Jets,
Jets beat them, Dolphins beat them, heads up. Or straight up.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm just saying, like, because all the Jets needed to do is win. If they beat the Dolphins, the Steelers would have made the playoffs. That's all it would have been. So when the Jets lost, that was it.
Damn Jets.
Yeah, well, the Steelers are pissed at them.
Yeah, they ruined my agenda, too. I wanted to see the Steelers make the playoffs. But there you have it for the 7th seed in the AFC. Steelers, with, like we said, a 9-8 record, but didn't qualify for the playoffs. Bills won, Bengals won, and with the Chiefs and obviously the Bills and Bengals not resuming that game, that DeMar Hamlin got injured. Those are your top 3 seeds in order. Chiefs 1, Bills 2, Bengals 3. We had Nico's Jaguars, because he's not a Packers fan anymore, I'm sure. He got to see his guy, Trevor Lawrence, clinch the 4th seed in the AFC South Division title. It was a tough game against Tennessee. I knew Mike Vrabel was going to keep it close.
Yeah.
But I give Vrabel credit. He's still a very good coach.
This team just didn't have it this year.
No, and it's hard to blame when you have like your third quarterback playing. I mean that's tough. But I blame them. You know who I blame? You know who I blame on Tennessee? Their offensive corner. He stinks. Like that Downing guy. He stinks. That guy's got to go. He's the problem on that team. Not Vrabel.
You know what's crazy? I feel like Mike Vrabel's like, we know he's the goods, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like the GM that traded away A.J. Brown last year, to Downing, it's a lot, to Tannehill, it's a lot of stuff holding him back.
Yeah.
Like, I think he did as good a job as he could have done, but he just didn't have enough to close the year. The Titans lost 7 straight games to close the year, so it's not what you want, but the Jaguars move on. So the AFC seeds, we got to the top 4, the wild cards, Chargers, Ravens, and Dolphins. Which one of those teams we think is the most dangerous? Chargers. Well, I don't think it's the Dolphins. I think it's the Chargers, too.
Chargers, they didn't win yesterday. I said they would win out. They didn't win that game yesterday against Denver, but, Denver, they had a little chip on their shoulder, so you expected them to kind of pull out that win. But I think the Chargers are dangerous if Joey Bosa and Mike Williams play next week, which, I mean, at this point, sit your starters at that point, because now both of your star players are hurt. So now, if you go out there, you got Keenan Allen and Josh Palmer. I don't know. I mean, you got Austin Eckler, but that defense, like, Derwin James is out there, and, he's always a risk when you have him out there because he's injury prone. So it's just like, hopefully they can do something in the playoffs, which I hope they do, because I've always been pulling for Justin Herbert ever since he got drafted. So...
somehow, and if you look at the arm talent, you're like, how did that happen? But somehow he was slept on coming out the draft. Like, it was all Burrow and Tua, looking back. And it was not many people were talking about Justin Herbert, but...
And you can't blame him for that, because those are 2 national championship winning quarterbacks.
Yeah, they had the hype, especially they're coming from the SEC, too.
Yeah.
So I get that part of it, but Justin Herbert, the Chargers are the sleeper in the AFC. I think we all agree there. So let's get to the NFC. The 7th seed in the NFC. So the Seahawks beat the Rams on the last-second field goal. The kicker missed the first one at the end of regulation. Doinked it. A weird, not necessarily roughness call on Jalen Ramsey. I watched the replay of that. Like, he gave Geno a shot, but if you watch it closely, like, Geno ran right into his shoulder. Then he flopped a little bit, and then Ramsey got called for it. Then he flopped right back. It was like, what am I watching? But... that helped the Seahawks. They got it done in overtime. That eliminated Detroit before the Lions took the field on Sunday Night Football. But they still found a way to beat the Packers 20-16. Packers eliminated in a win-in situation. And I'm looking at this like, trust me, because I've been on the Lions all year long. I was saying they're going to make the playoffs when they were 1-7. They got to 4-7. I'm like, they're going to make the playoffs. After they beat the Giants in MetLife, I'm like, it's going to happen. Now, they just fell short because the Seahawks won, but I say all that to say, like, I want to give them credit, but the Packers, yo.
I mean, you got to give the Lions credit.
No, you have to, but I'm looking at the Packers, too, like.
Packers, I mean, I watched Aaron Rodgers walk off that field last night, and it was just like, he said, nah, I think I'm going to hold on to this jersey. Jordan Love is going to be that quarterback next season. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers retiring or him going to a different team, where obviously, you know, the chatter is around him going to Vegas. Obviously, that connection with Devontae Adams. But I don't know. He's played with retirement before. I think this is it.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I mean, his interview seemed like he was done. Just the way it looked. I don't know. Maybe that's me. Maybe it comes back. I think he's done. He didn't look good. He just didn't look good in that game. He was overthrowing guys. Bad interception. Just, I don't know. He looks kind of finished to me. And listen, great career. He's done, which is fine. He should retire. He's done.
What's funny is that, like, I'll watch an Aaron Rodgers interview, and it's the same stuff every time. So I don't know how much to read into, like, he seems very, like, checked out all the time. Like, they could ask him anything, he'd just be like, yeah, you know. That's Aaron Rodgers. It's the ayahuasca mellowing him out, I guess. But so I don't know how much to read into, like, his press conference last night, but he did seem done. And funny to your point, Eric, he was, like, really praising Devontae Adams, too, like, oh, that's a generational type guy. You know, it really hurt losing him. Kind of threw his receivers under the bus, too. Like, oh, yeah, they tried, but, you know, it's not Devontae Adams, which is true, but you really need to say that?
Yeah, Christian Watson had a terrific back half of the season. So it's like, to throw your receivers like that under the bus, I mean, and you're overthrowing these guys. You're not giving them the right, like, pause. You're not giving them the right balls. Like, so
no, you're right, though.
Nah, you can't throw him under the bus like that. And he definitely seemed checked out after, like, they went on that losing streak or whatever.
What's crazy about that is because I'm a sicko. I watch every NFL game if I get a chance. So I'm watching Aaron Rodgers and even Tom Brady all year. Tom Brady overthrew Mike Evans, like, at least 10 times this year.
These are old guys. They have to go.
Aaron Rodgers, the same thing, overthrowing and underthrowing Dobbs and Watson all year. I'm like, but all the media wants to talk about, the receivers aren't ready. Oh, they're not clicking with Brady or Rodgers. I'm like, yo, watch the games. Like, they're overthrows every other play.
I was happy. I was happy last night watching that game. I was happy for Jamal Williams.
Yeah,
Jamal Williams. I wanted to get some of his content from yesterday in the vault here, but
it was funny.
Yeah,
it was funny. But
from the introduction to. We got to talk about that press conference. And I'll try to get in here tomorrow, but he was talking about his great-grandfather. Not his great-grandfather, his grandfather.
Nah, it was his
great-grandfather.
Yeah, it was his great-grandfather.
He was in tears about it, like, this is for you, this is the game ball, I'm dedicating it to you.
And then he just went straight into, like,
facts.
We're not soft, like, we're tough around this mug.
Yo, he's too funny, bro. And he be wearing that Naruto headband everywhere you go, bro.
Yo.
There's no way you can hate him, bro. There's no way you can hate him,
exactly.
Bro. I'm happy for him.
What's crazy, too, he was like, don't let the tears fool you. There's a dog in here. I'm like, yo. The switch up at, like, the snap of a finger was crazy. But this Lions team, and we mentioned it with the Steelers, like, they're going to be a problem. They are one draft away from really running that division for the next 5 years.
You got a decent offensive line. You obviously got the tackle, which that's the most important part of the line. And you got a decent quarterback. That's really, like, if you have a great team around them, you'll be good enough to make a Super Bowl. I mean, you've seen, obviously, the Eagles with Nick Foles that one year, and then Jimmy Garoppolo. All you need is a great team around them. So, I feel like that defense is like, they're going to click next season.
You know who the Lions remind me of? Because I'm a Saints fan, right? I remember watching that team. The 2006, they made the NFC Championship. 2007, 2008, they kind of had that period. Even they win the Super Bowl, they come back and they're 7-9 for a few years. That's where I feel like the Lions are at. Like, they have Dan Campbell's from the Sean Payton coaching tree. They have a good offensive coordinator. Pretty much their entire coaching staff is like from the Saints tree. The defensive coordinator's done great things. You can't run the ball in the Lions. Like, I think that's going to continue. I just think they're one draft away, like 2017 Saints draft, 2021 Jets type draft. Like, they're one ace draft away. I'm not going to call them a dynasty, but they're going to be a problem for. They can really lock up that division and say this is ours for like the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, if it's a tough division and like everybody's just like toughing it out, I think they could definitely go like 11-6 next season.
Oh, easy too. Especially with the way the NFC looked this year, it should get better. But watch out for the Lions for sure. They didn't make the playoffs this year. The Seahawks got in by virtue of them. So we got the NFC seed set. First seed Eagles, second seed Niners, third seed Vikings, fourth seed Bucks at 8 and 9. Had to point that out. Cowboys, Giants, Seahawks are the 3 wild card teams. We got the wild card schedule set this week. So we have the Seahawks at the Niners, Saturday at 4:30. Also on Saturday at 8:15, the Chargers at the Jaguars. That's going to be a sneaky great game, I feel like.
Yeah.
Herbert versus Lawrence. Because I feel like Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen in no order, those are the 3 guys. But if you're Herbert and Lawrence, like you're looking to knock on that door and be like, oh, hold up. Hello, we're here too. Like, don't forget about us. So that's going to be a good one. Then on Sunday, we got the Dolphins. This is a bye week for the Bills. They ain't got the 1 seed, but this is a bye week. Especially if they play Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bills are winning this one. Giants at the Vikings, like we talked about, Sunday at 4:30. The Ravens at the Bengals. Will Lamar Jackson play? We don't know. That's Sunday at 8:15. Then the Monday night game, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman get their Cowboys game after all. Is going to be at the Bucks Monday at 8:15.
I hate the fact that this game is going to be on Monday.
The whole world's going to be watching. I mean, and every playoff game is primetime, yeah, but Monday night you're the only game on.
Only game on that whole day.
And it's a possibility your week starts off rough. You know Monday's like, it's that day. That tells you how your week is going to go.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming here next week. Like,
if you win, though, you're having a great week.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But I don't know. It's hard to expect a win because just how they play. Like, you just see those. It's every year you get a game out of the Cowboys, and it's just like, nah, they're not that team. 12-5, same record as last year. And the Cowboys seem to beat themselves every time they lose.
No, it's a fact. They are the most talented team in the NFC. To me, it's just like, because you have the star power on defense and offense.
Yeah.
No other team can say that, but it's just, I don't know whether it's coaching. I don't know whether it's the culture. I don't know whether it's the mindset of the players as a collective, but it never just clicks all the way when it should.
You know why? Because, like, I'll put it like this. There's a lot of pressure on their backs. Obviously, you're a storied franchise. You're expected to do things that other teams have done in the past. We were the team in the 90s. 3 Super Bowls in the 90s. And then you had guys like Roger Staubach in the 70s and Troy Aikmans and then the Tony Romos. Even though Tony Romo didn't do nothing, he showed like he should have been there. Just 1 Super Bowl. That's all he needed. And he either could have got it in 2006 or he could have got it in 2014.
The Cowboys, and you, I'm happy you brought up Romo, because it just goes to show you, like, this isn't just the Dak era where they've come up short. You can go all the way back to when Romo fumbled that ball in Seattle. Like, they had chance after chance after chance in the playoffs. You're gonna have Stephen A. Smith going up there like, "Oh, what can go wrong will go wrong," and do that laugh in the videos.
It's just like, you can say that about any of the other 31 NFL teams in this league.
I know you can say it about my team.
I mean, like, you say it about the Cowboys. All right, they're America's team. You're going to make them a joke out of them. Like, go ahead. Oh, y'all still them boys? Like, I got to see 5 pictures of 5 different quarterbacks. Oh, y'all still them boys? It's every time the Cowboys lose, like, the whole America just like, yeah, we going, like, this is our punching bag.
It comes with the territory, I guess, of being America's team, and I want to put them up there, the 90s Cowboys, with like one of the most famous dynasties in sports. Like right up there with the Bulls, because they might have like revolutionized football culture.
Yes.
Michael Irvin, and like they got down and partied, but they handled their business on the field. So
I mean, you talk about the Great Wall, and then Prime Time, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. Man, like, it sucks. Like, I was just like right there. Like, I could have witnessed that, but my parents had me. My parents had me like a little later, and I walked into this.
Well, like I've said all year long, and y'all know I've said this the entire season. if the Cowboys just put it all together, they're the most talented team in this conference.
All they have to do is not beat themselves. That's the thing.
That's the entire
if you come
thing.
into Tampa Bay and you get 2 3 and outs, the confidence is going to start dropping. Once the confidence starts dropping, Tom Brady sees blood, he's going for it. I'm sorry. You can't let that man get life, because if you do, that's that.
You know, Tampa Bay, interesting thing about this game, Tampa Bay and Dallas. Tampa Bay was the number 1 rush defense for 2 straight years. They're all the way down to 16th this year. So if you're the Cowboys, this isn't the same Bucs run defense you're used to seeing. Like, we know the story. Like, we saw it play out yesterday. If the Cowboys don't run the ball, they're cooked. They're not going to do the thing. So that's going to be the key thing to watch as the NFC playoff picture is set. Well, the entire playoff picture is set, like I said. But the Giants, will see how they do on Sunday. And we'll spend the entire week breaking down their game against Minnesota. A game that they can definitely win. So we'll see what happens. Let's switch gears to the NBA. We got some significant news this afternoon. So Kevin Durant, I wasn't watching any basketball yesterday, but I saw the video of Jimmy Butler landing on his right leg. And you remember back, Kevin Durant missed 6 weeks with an MCL injury last year. Yeah. It's the same thing this year, MCL sprain, but the Nets are saying it should be a lot less severe. So they're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks to see what happens. But earlier in the game, he did pass Dominique Wilkins for 14th on the all-time scoring list. And me and you, Franz, we were talking about it pre-show. Like, if he hasn't missed all that time with injury, I think he'd be right up there with LeBron in terms of, like, the top scorer in NBA history, total points.
It was that year he missed, like, it was something wrong with his foot when he was on OKC, and then the year with the torn Achilles.
Yeah.
If he had those 2 years, like, I want to do the math on it, but he'd definitely be top 6 right now.
Bro, he makes it look effortless, bro, especially at the size that he's at.
He's a complete player now, too. Like, the assists, the rebounds, he can block shots, he can, be a menace on defense, and the Nets were rolling. They did win in Miami last night for their 18th win in their last 20 games. I'm going to pull up their schedule, and I wanted to ask the question because Kyrie Irving's been playing great, too. He's been playing out of his mind.
Kyrie's been playing great, but that last shot he took was kind of crazy. He started off the game first bucket with a shot very similar to that with a deep 3, but he was wilding. He thought he was Curry. It was like 6 seconds left on the shot clock. I mean, on the game clock, and he's pulling that. I was like, nah, he's crazy. But
I know. They call him, if not the most skilled NBA player in history. Like, he's up there. So
yeah.
Any shot I feel like Kyrie takes, and he does take some crazy ass ones like that, it has a chance to go in.
It does.
So I'm not mad at it completely, but the question is, can he carry this team?
I don't feel like he has to, because you got guys like T.J. Warren, and you got scorers there. You got the Steph Currys, Joe Harris. You got the shooters that you need. I don't feel like he has to carry, but if he does, he will.
You're right. They do have that, but it's all about the consistency with these guys, because when you look at somebody like T.J. Warren, since the bubble, he hasn't been making noise how he did in the bubble. Then you got Steph Curry, who he's not that same Steph Curry we seen like just a season ago, where he's that reliable shooter. Joe Harris, Joe Harris is like, when he's hot, he's hot. You know what I'm saying? So he's one of those guys. And now Watanabe, like, he's been showing everybody what he could do this season. Hopefully he could get back in that groove, because he was like one of the top, most efficient shooters at a point in the league, and nobody expected that. So they do have the pieces. Everybody just has to find consistency. It can't just be Kyrie and KD the only ones being consistent. You know what I'm saying? I
feel like every NBA team needs 4 things to really compete for a championship. 1, you need the star power. We know the Nets have that. Mm-hmm. 2, I think they have the coaching now.
Yes.
And with that comes the defense. So 5 things. Star power, coaching, defense. What I think they're missing, and they have the shooting as well, that's 4. They need some size up front. They need some more size on the back end, because Ben Simmons, he's going to be their chess piece kind of defensively, but if you're asking him to hold up against the Embiids, Giannis's, even the Tatums, the Browns, I think that's a lot to put on his plate, especially in the state he's in. So
yeah,
I don't know where they're going to find it, but they definitely need more size up front, power forward, center position. But I look at this team, if they get that, it depends on who it is, and I hate to say it, they're right up there with the Celtics and Bucks. Like I wasn't gonna put them in that tier before. I know Eric's been on that train since the start of the year.
Yeah.
But if they just make one more trade, because they have the defense, they have the shooting, they're that one more piece away. And you can talk about, and health obviously with Kevin Durant coming back.
Yeah.
They can make a run. I hate to say that, but it can happen.
And I agree with that because what was that win streak, like 12, 13 games?
12 games.
Yeah, 12 games. Like, they were firing on all cylinders. It was either they were punching teams in the mouth or they was pulling out close ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to be that team where you could not only smack a team, but you could pull out a close game, that's hard to do. Like, Knicks fans know that. Like, we lost a lot of games, very close games, because we couldn't finish throughout the stretch. And to be a great team, you have to be able to pull out those close ones. Not every game is going to be a blowout. So they showed us bright spots, and I do think, like I said, if everybody can be consistent and your star power is going crazy, that I can be competing with teams like the Bucks and the Celtics, championship caliber teams. So I'm excited to see what the Nets got in store.
Speaking of the Knicks and speaking of the Bucks, Bing bong! The Knicks return to action. They had 2 days off since their last game against, who did they play last time? Why am I drawing a blank?
Oh, the Raptors.
The Raptors. They got that big win in Toronto. Jalen Brunson struggled in the first Raptors game when the win streak got snapped, really bounced back. I feel like Brunson and Randall are all-star caliber. I don't know if they're going to make it, just how stacked the East is with superstars, but let me read off their next 6 games, and it's funny, ESPN has them favored to win each game.
This for the Nets or Knicks?
Knicks.
Okay.
And it's not an easy schedule either. You have the 25-14 Bucks tonight. Mm-hmm. The Pacers, who suddenly can't lose on Wednesday at the Garden. Uh-huh. Then you got the Wizards, the Pistons, the Raptors, and then the Wizards again before you go on the road and play Atlanta. So the Knicks, they're 7th in the East right now. They're a half game behind the Pacers. 6-game record. How we feel?
All games are definitely winnable. I just think that Pacers game is just... The Pacers are like... You know how I feel about them. Ben Mathurin.
Halliburton's going to be an all-star.
God, like... That's tricky. But I feel like they can win that game.
I think this could be a 4-2 stretch for us.
That's my hope.
I think
that's definitely my hope.
That the 2 Pistons games should definitely be ours. We should pull that one out against Toronto because this last game... We were in control the whole game, and then all of a sudden they start turning up on us. But if we show them that Knicks where we was in control for 3 quarters, then we should pull that one out. Who else? You said Bucks, Pacers. Pacers, I think we could control that game all the way to, we like to bait up in the last couple minutes. But
yeah, that's the funny thing about the Knicks. If you just learn how to close games, they'll be a factor in the East. But
if they just play 45 minutes, if the commissioner decided to change the rule, they'd be great.
Yeah,
they can't do that.
Unfortunately, Ross, it's not going to work out that way. But we'll see if they can finally get some poise about them down the stretch in games, and it starts tonight against Milwaukee. We'll see. But for now, we'll call it a show on WHPC Sports Talk. From Joshua Umahi, Eric Williams, Ross Levine, and Franz Compare, we thank you once again for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.